These are the lecture notes for Chapter 28, and we're starting on slide 64. We were we're discussing in the last recording was the phylum Arthropoda, and we had covered, I'll go back, we had covered the crustaceans. So the arthropods or the Arthropoda are the phylum, and then the groups, the classes within the Arthropoda are the crustaceans, which include shrimp, lobsters, crab, crayfish, and then we talked about the centipedes and the millipedes. Remember, the centipedes have only one pair of legs per segment, and the millipedes in the abdominal segment, they have two pairs of legs per segment. That is the difference. And so now we are going to cover the insects, which is definitely the largest group of arthropods. Most insects live on land. The insect has three body segments: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The thorax has three pairs of legs and sometimes one or two pairs of wings. So that means 6 legs, of course, and you probably learned that as a child in school. A lot of insects undergo complete metamorphosis, for example, from a caterpillar to a butterfly, and then some undergo incomplete metamorphosis. Insects live on land and breathe by trachea and not gills. So a grasshopper is being used here as a typical example of an insect. The first abdominal segment in the grasshopper bears a tympanum, and that is simplified ears. And then the female has an ovipositor for eggs. For the digestive system, food is stored in a crop before being passed to the gizzard. And for the excretory system or urinary system, the grasshopper has Malpighian tubules. And the respiratory system in the exoskeleton, the grasshopper has these holes called spiracles, and then the spiracles connect to the trachea. So that's how they breathe. The circulatory system does include a primitive simple heart, a slender tubular heart, and the grasshopper undergoes incomplete metamorphosis. This shows you the spiracles in the exoskeleton. You see that in the abdominal segment, those little holes, and they connect to the trachea, which are shown here, and the trachea have little air sacs in them. And then the air is exchanged between those air sacs and the blood vessels. Ventral nerve cord, you can see that. And then the circulatory system kind of runs along the top here. You've got a heart or several, I don't know, but anyway, it's like a single blood vessel. It is a closed circulatory system. Similar to what we have, it doesn't look the same, but it's, similar in the fact that it's a closed system rather than an open system. Now, here you can see the diversity of insects, although they're even more diverse than these pictures show. But what you're looking at here is a mealybug, and then the next picture is a beetle. Looks a little like what I used to call a June bug. And then we have a leafhopper down at the bottom. We have a head louse, which we call lice. I think the louse is singular and lice is plural. And then we have a wasp here. And we have a dragonfly. So just some examples of insects. The next group of arthropoda are the chelicerates, and they're going to include spiders, scorpions, ticks, mites, horseshoe crabs, and sea spiders. And they have the chelicerae, the mouth parts. Here's a horseshoe crab, this is a scorpion, and this is a black widow spider. And now we're going to move on to the last section, which is the invertebrate deuterostome. So everything up until now has either been only had no tissues, which is your sponge, 2 tissue layers, which is your comb jellies, and which were the Ctenophora, and the cnidarians, which are your jellyfish and your sea anemones. Now, after that, the animals that we learned were protostomes. That means their mouth develops first. Now we're going to talk about deuterostomes that are invertebrates, and these go in the phylum Echinodermata, which means spiny skin. It includes the sea stars, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, and sand dollars. As adults, the echinoderms have radial symmetry, but they have bilateral symmetry as larvae. They do have an endoskeleton. It's made of calcium-rich plates with spines, and it's actually inside of their skin. I guess you say skin. Inside it's internal. It's not external. And then they have a central nerve ring with branches. And what's really, really distinctive about the echinoderms is their water vascular system. They use it for locomotion, for feeding, for gas exchange, and sensory reception. We are going to dissect a sea star, and you will probably have a virtual lab of the sea star dissection. So you're going to learn this, but the sea star is your example of an echinoderm. What we're looking at here, the top side is called the aboral side. Oral means mouth, so this is the side that doesn't have the mouth. This is where the anus is located. But what you can see is how the water vascular system works. There's a little stone called a madreporite or sieve plate, and water is absorbed through that stone because the stone is porous. I mean, it's when you get your sea star and you feel that stone, it doesn't feel like it has, that it's able to take in water, but it is. So water enters through the madreporite or sieve plate, and then it enters through this little canal right here that's not labeled. The stone canal, I don't know why it's not labeled, but what I'm pointing at is the stone canal, and then the ring canal, and then the radial canals. Maybe it's on a different page. No? Nope. And then the water fills up these tube feet. So it enters the radial canal and then fills up tube feet, which you would see on the underside, the oral side of the sea star. In each arm, you also have these digestive glands and gonads. Okay, so we will see those. And one interesting thing about the sea star is you see this sea star here is going to eat the bivalve mollusk. Looks like a clam. So what it's going to do is it's going to throw up its stomach. It literally ejects its stomach out of its mouth, and then it digests the animal inside of that clam. It digests the clam, and then it brings the stomach back inside. And you can Google this, and you can watch a video of it on YouTube or TikTok, and it's really cool to watch. So this is a sea apple, an example of an echinoderm. These are sea urchins. You've probably seen these in touch tanks. And this page goes through the water vascular system and how it works. So it says on the oral surface, each arm has a groove lined by little tube feet, and they fill with water. They're used, actually the sea star can walk, and it can use those tube feet to open bivalves. Their locomotion, their movement depends on their water vascular system. Water enters through the sieve plate, like I was telling you before, and then passes through a series of canals. It's the stone canal, the ring canal, and then the radial canal. Stone canal, ring canal, radial canal. We'll go over that more in lab. And then contraction of an ampulla forces water into the tube feet, and the tube feet filling with water that allows for movement. So there's no respiratory system, excretory system, or circulatory system in the sea star, and they do reproduce sexually and asexually. One other thing, and I am going to get out of the notes now, but since I have a few minutes, I typically try to do like a 15-minute lecture. I'm going to show you what I'm looking up are water bears or tardigrades, because these were not in the notes, but they're so cool. Okay, I just want a picture. What I really want is a video. Huh. What I want to do is find one like with a light microscope. Here we go. Oh, this one's terrible. Let's try this one. These are microscopic animals called tardigrades, and they're also known as water bears. I'm going to blow it up. And this is just one of them using a light microscope. They're just cute. Look at the legs. But they are true animals. A tardigrade has 8 legs. Each has bear-like claws, and it moves slowly in a forest of green algae. I just love these. Tardigrade means slow stepper. And you can see it eating the algae there. Okay, I won't torture you, but the water bears go in with the ecdysozoans. So they're actually, I don't know if you remember, but the ecdysozoans, we'll go back to our notes. The ecdysozoans were the ones that shed their cuticle. And so they include the roundworms. I don't remember where they were. The roundworms and the arthropods. Here we go. Okay, so ecdysozoans would also include, in addition to the roundworms or phylum Nematoda and the phylum Arthropoda, the tardigrades would also go in with the, they're not in either of those phyla, but it would go in with the ecdysozoans. I don't know that I'll ask you about them, but I hate to teach on invertebrates and not show you the tardigrades. They're my favorite.